Well, Liz, thank you very much for your warm welcome, and thank you everyone for inviting me here. I'm delighted to hear that so many people wanted to come, that there wasn't space for them all in the room, because it shows what an important subject this is. And I was very struck in Liz's presentation there about this really important issue about looking hard at our fundamental natural resources and what lies ahead of us and what in fact we can contribute from this country and where we have some comparative advantage. I'm determined that DEFRA should have science-led, evidence-based policy, and I think one of the most potent pieces of science put before me in the very early days of my tenure was the alarming analysis by the government's chief scientist, Professor Sir John Beddington, that by 2030 we face a situation where we face a shortage of water and a shortage of energy, which together will lead to a shortage of food. And I think it's a real challenge to the coalition government to prepare us as a nation to be more resilient in the face of that piece of analysis. It's what the chief scientist calls the perfect storm, and my job is to try and make sure that we can weather it. So I'm delighted to be here today to talk really about resources and how best to use them. I'm sure it's something that's uppermost on your mind, and it's what's brought you here. The resources available to government to fund services and other organisations like RAP, of course, are part of the equation. But the resources also that we are consuming and how much we will leave to the generations that follow us, and the impact of the way we use and process those resources on a warming climate and on our planet's biodiversity and ecosystems. Yesterday, my department published its business plan. It reinforces this government's fundamental shift away from concentrating power at the centre and creating a new era of transparency in government at all levels and localism. It underlines DEFRA's priorities, which are firstly to support and develop British farming and food production and encourage sustainable food production, so important when you think about that chief scientist's warning to us. Secondly, to help enhance the environment and biodiversity to improve the quality of all our lives. And thirdly, to support a strong and sustainable green economy, resilient to climate change. For the first time, our business plan also specifies our two other major responsibilities: to prepare for and manage environmental risk from animal and plant disease outbreaks and from flood emergencies. DEFRA is firmly at the heart of this green government and has a vital role to play in encouraging and helping to deliver the new green economy of the future. The natural assets we get from our wider natural environment are key to economic recovery. According to EU research, the global insect pollination alone is worth €150 billion a year, a tenth of the total value of worldwide agricultural food production. And I'm sure you've all heard of Pavan Sukhdev, who recently wrote an important report on the economics of biodiversity and ecosystems. He helped kickstart the shift in the way we value these natural goods and services, and has pointed out that not one bee has ever presented us with an invoice. I hate to tell you, if they ever did that in the United Kingdom, it would set us back £440 million by his estimate, and that's every year. Having only recently returned from the UN conference on biodiversity in Nagoya, I'm more certain than ever that our unsustainable exploitation of natural resources is in danger of limiting both our capacity to support our growing populations and our future economic growth. For many, of course, those risks are already a reality. While protecting the biodiversity, ecosystems and habitats we have, we will also have to adapt to the inevitable climate change we are already experiencing and will continue to experience in the decades ahead. We understand many of these threats already and will have an even clearer idea of what both local and national governments, businesses and those on whom we depend for the resilience of our built infrastructure will need to do to adapt when we publish the UK's first ever climate change risk assessment in 2012. The impact of climate change, the protection of our natural environment, and the availability of precious natural resources, with all three, we are a world at a crossroads. But if necessity is indeed the mother of invention, then now must be the time for business to seize the opportunities offered by the drive to resource efficiency. These opportunities are many, because they exist at every step of the life cycle of resources and at every stage of production. Manufacturers and retailers, like IKEA, began by designing their products using the standard criteria of price, function, and transport efficiency. For them, as for many other manufacturers, probably many of you here, product eco-design has simply proved the next logical step. Because waste does not have to be the inevitable consequence of production. With good design, it can actually be eliminated. You all know, for example, the result of the rethinking of the drink can, unveiled in 1989, with its retained ring pulls. Designing out waste happens at the start of a product's life cycle, but what happens at the end of it has even greater possibilities. Because when we start thinking about a product in terms of the resources that go into it, instead of simply as a can, a chair, or a car, that's when the commercial possibilities to reuse and reinvent really explode. Each Nike 2010 World Cup kit included a T-shirt made from 8 plastic bottles taken from Japanese and Taiwanese landfill. A great example of combining economic and environmental reputational approaches to deliver commercial success. A little while ago, I watched fascinated as a car was disassembled piece by piece on a de-production line in the West Midlands in order to comply with the end-of-life vehicle directive. I speak as a West Midlands manufacturing MP. We think in terms of making cars. We must think in terms of demaking cars in the future and reusing their component parts. If more businesses think as an automatic default about making it easy to extract a product's resources at the point of design, then the UK's resource base has the potential to multiply unimaginably. I've been impressed with the way that many businesses and environmental groups have already made this link. I recently saw for myself how NISP, a programme supported by DEFRA and RAP, is using innovative means to join up producers and consumers of waste materials. This not only allows companies a new source of vital raw materials, but helps reuse and recycle resources which would otherwise go into the waste stream. I saw, for example, how spare pieces of plastic are recycled for Land Rover Jaguar, how alumina is recovered from the sludge, how paper garments for care workers are made from recycled paper. In an endless catalogue of resourcefulness this organisation provides. Many UK businesses have already identified the triple threat of physical, regulatory and reputational risks to their global supply chains, from water to raw materials. Indeed, the European Commission is currently producing a resource efficiency roadmap, which will be published next year, and a communiqué on raw materials to come in the next few weeks. The roadmap will fast forward to 2020 and 2050, providing us with a vision for a more resource-efficient economy. But I'm conscious that when we sign up to new regulation, we must first ascertain the costs involved, because more burdens upon business at a time like this is probably the last thing that business needs. There's always that balance to strike. So the roadmap will also suggest new policy initiatives to build on this common ground, to deliver economic and environmental benefits, both now and in the long term. Business can and should use these initiatives as the spur to invest in our resource-efficient future. But we believe a government with the stated aim of being the greenest ever has a clear responsibility to shape the direction of travel. That's why in July we announced a review of waste policy at every stage of the hierarchy, from design and production to reuse and waste disposal. The review has put the customer at the heart of waste services. We need to find ways to make it easier for the customer to reap the benefits of better waste management and to see the value for money without compromising frontline services. Through this customer-led approach, we want to take the road to a zero-waste economy, one which delivers a closed-loop supply chain with waste materials treated as resources wherever possible and minimal disposal at its end. This review is now well underway, and our aim is to publish the findings in the spring. It will ask businesses to go further and faster than ever before in their approach to eliminating waste as much as possible. This isn't, however, about burying business under a new mountain of regulation. We want to work with you, expanding the scope of voluntary responsibility deals, building on the achievements delivered so far by agreements such as Courtauld and the construction commitment. But in return, we'll help businesses on their way, helping small and medium-sized enterprises in particular to get affordable recycling services and removing the false distinction between household and business waste. Waste, of course, is just one element of our integrated strategy to delivering sustainable economic growth. The Regional Growth Fund will put £1.4 billion to the service of local business regeneration, and our future growth must be environmentally sustainable. The opportunities are there. For business to make the most of them, they need clarity and certainty from the government's approach. That's why a number of government departments, including DEFRA and DEC, have been working together to deliver our roadmap to a green economy, which will be launched next spring. This roadmap will set out our goals over the next 10 years to support the transition from a grey economy to a green one, and the businesses and investment environment that we'll need to get us there. It will also highlight both the opportunities and the threats facing a wide range of different sectors, and the policies we'll be putting in place to help businesses seize the opportunities and manage the challenges. Now, RAP has already come up with a range of excellent ideas, from community ownership of waste facilities to a process of deregulation that uses place-based budgets to resolve waste issues at the most local level of all. It's this diversity of ideas that I want to encourage. There is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to waste collection. To function at all, methods must work for the people they serve. We must never forget that the taxpayer, as the receiver of services, must be central to the design of our waste policies. We know that imposition is rarely as effective as participation. We know that local communities want to be involved in developing innovative solutions to common problems. That way, they own them. We know, too, that there are often opportunities to enable them to do so by handing back power to the community and bringing together those organisations that can allow people to act. We must seek to design flexible frameworks for councils to be able to innovate. I've got 46 tower blocks on a council estate in my constituency, and what I know is that we cannot use the same method for waste collection there as we would in the leafy suburban part of my constituency. We have to think what will work in the right environment. When government focuses on incentives and rewards rather than penalties, this allows us to facilitate better delivery of services and to encourage people to change their behaviour. Very good example of this I've seen is Windsor and Maidenhead Council, that actually reward their council taxpayers and their constituent members for recycling, and you get benefits from recycling, including vouchers for a range of local providers, and even Costa Coffee, I notice, is on the list. So that kind of positive incentive to people to do the right thing goes with the grain of human nature. That is why the consumer will be at the heart of the review and our policy going forward. It's about working with the grain of human nature. When giving the freedom to do so, humans actually have got an endless capacity to innovate. RAP have understood this well and know how to change behaviours through carrots rather than sticks. Another example of where we are doing this is for energy conservation. The Green Deal will provide an opportunity for everyone of the UK's 26 million homes to benefit in one way or another to help reduce greenhouse gases in the process. They can choose from better insulation in walls and lofts to installing solar panels on roofs. There is also another opportunity in the waiting for businesses looking to supply that new market. This demonstrates that when we provide the right incentives and a flexible framework, we can deliver outcomes that are good for the environment and good for business. RAP's delivery model is key to this. They have built up a core of expertise, and supported this by establishing a wide network of specialists backed up by voluntary agreements. This model gives it flexibility to respond swiftly to deliver its priorities with reduced resources. So I'm very grateful to Liz and her team for working so closely and constructively with us as we identify WRAP's new priorities. But we are both clear that WRAP's core business is and will continue to be a joined-up approach to promoting waste prevention, recycling, and the further use of recycled materials. I'm under no illusion that we've come to the end of the road of our consume today and throw away society. We increasingly feel deeply uncomfortable when we waste, when we don't recycle, when we throw away. The logical next stage is to define this generation as the one where commercial practice and consumer sentiment finally fell into step, when we recognise the intrinsic value of a product is nothing less than rare and finite metals, than water, than energy. It is then that we will have taken the next decisive step to defuse the time bomb of resource scarcity in a warming world. Thank you.